All right, guys, welcome to the Onelife Podcast. Here with Derek. Derek is a two-time natural Olympian right now.
Yeah. That's
amazing, dude. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure, man. Very excited because not only is that an amazing accomplishment, you got to be a certain type of person to be able to do that. You got to have a certain type of intellect, certain type of like work ethic. And there's so much temptation out there too to go to that next level. So like, it's what makes natural Olympian. Like what is the fine line? What distinguish? Like obviously it's not drugs, but what level of drugs?
Yeah, I mean they're mainly looking at anything that's going to be performance enhancement. Even stimulants can be considered.
Really? What type of stimulants?
Show up. Gosh, I don't even know because I don't use a whole lot, to be honest. But you can search it on the WADA drug testing list. They have like a banned substance list. You can always search certain substances on there.
So you're talking like obviously no steroids.
Yeah, no
like
steroids,
that.
no HGH.
No HGH.
Testosterone. I know some organizations might be okay with it, like if you're clinically, like you have low testosterone, but it depends.
Okay.
They might be doing away with that. Because some guys I know are just like clinically low on the T levels.
And then like the PEDs,
no PEDs,
anything. So basically you can't take anything.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just more like protein powder, creatine, things like that are obviously okay, right?
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha. And then, we're talking before, that's got to be, I feel like everyone's like, oh, this person's on gear, this person's on gear. Like I got accused of being on gear when I first started lifting because people don't really know the difference.
Yeah.
So you must get pressed, or do you get pressed a lot?
Sometimes.
When you first started, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been an athlete playing sports, so it's honestly not that much. I mean, I'll have guys every once in a while that'll just ask me, but it's not like, hey, you're obviously on stuff.
Okay.
Some people just ask me because they want to know. Like,
hey,
you're in really good shape. Are you using anything or are you natural?
Gotcha.
So I think for the most part, people see me as fairly believable, like it's attainable, which is good. It is a lot of hard work. Like you said, I've been training for over 20 years.
20 years of lifting, right?
I started lifting, in freshman football with the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program.
And how old are you now?
I'm 36 now.
36. So you probably started like 20, like when you're 16. I started when I was 17.
Yeah.
And you started at 16. But you'll probably be like completely serious from day one, or when did you start to take it real serious?
Well, serious for sports. I played football in college for 2 years at the junior college level.
Yeah.
So I've always been training, and then I didn't really get into competing in bodybuilding until I was 26.
Okay.
I did my first show then, but then I didn't compete again for 5 years after that.
Oh, wow.
So that was like my intro. I had a buddy, he competed. He had already done like 17 shows. He competed since he was a teen. And like while I was playing football in college.
Yeah.
And after I got out of college, stopped playing, he was like, dude, you should do a show. Like you're already in football shape. You just got to get the diet down. Like,
interesting.
I feel like you need to do something. Like,
so did you have natural genetics? Like Ronnie Coleman, right?
Yeah.
Like he was naturally meant to be bigger.
Yeah.
Did you have any? Like, I can honestly say I was skinny, I was lanky, my wrists are thin.
Yeah.
Did you have anything going for you?
Man, I mean, I have that. I have thin wrists, thin ankles. People say genetics, which is funny because I've always worked hard too. So it's hard to really say.
You'd have to live two
which
lives
is
without,
which. I'm sure it's a combination of those because I do feel like I have pretty good genetics, but. I'm the guy that never misses a day either. So I've always been pretty disciplined.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not discounting you, but I know some people naturally got bigger chests or bigger shoulders. Or...
Yeah, I feel like I've been more leg dominant.
Okay, that's probably your football too, though, right?
Football, I ran track. Probably ran track longer than playing football and basketball. So I feel like, people even said I had a track body. Like I had big legs. I'm a little smaller up top, so I usually need to develop my upper body. But I had power. I was explosive, good speed. So
you're more like fast twitch, are you?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you find that helps with what you do, or you find it's like you can lift a lot of weight for low reps? Does that help with like building your size, or?
Yeah, I feel like there's been a benefit, especially being in sports. With hypertrophy and building muscle, a lot of times it's more about how you're lifting the weight, not necessarily how much you're lifting.
Dude, say that.
So
let's go on detail that. So I feel like a lot of people don't get it, and to hear it from your mouth, I feel like people will listen.
Yeah. I mean, I've trained mostly for hypertrophy, and I've talked to friends of mine that do powerlifting. They're like, dude, you need to like lift heavy to put on size, and it's like, yeah, you're probably right. But I've also just developed a certain level of conditioning as well. I think that's helped me with bodybuilding. So it's for sure going to be that combination. I think it's important to do both. You know,
I saw Lee Priest's video yesterday, and he was talking about it's not lifting heavy, it's the reps.
Yeah.
But it's putting the reps lifting heavy.
Yeah.
And he's like, do a lot of reps, but do a lot of reps lifting heavy.
Right.
And I mean, I love what you say. It's not, you see the gym all the time, guys lifting, especially younger guys. Younger guys are the worst. They're lifting a lot of weight, they're squatting a lot of weight, the legs are real skinny, they've got a lot of weight on bench press, the chest, they literally have no chest. So you're talking about that mind-muscle connection, making that muscle do the work, right? So therefore it grows.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it really just comes down to control and controlling the weight, controlling the movement, being able to feel the weight through the entire movement, because you can lose connection with the muscle you're working at any given point in the movement if you're doing a bench press or if you're doing a squat. Most of the time when I squat and lift, I'm controlling that eccentric, coming down, and then just having that explosive movement on the way up.
What is your timing like, say on a squat? Are you like 2 second up, 4 second down? What is your general approach?
Probably on average.
I want to pick a brain.
Yeah. I'm usually about 3 to 4 seconds on the way down.
Oh, you really? Okay, so that's very controlled.
And I've had injuries too, like lower back. I've overtrained a couple of times.
I think we all have, right?
Which is definitely from sports too. They kind of run you ragged, especially when I think about just training 15, 20 years ago, like in high school, college, 2-a-days. It seems like
you get away with it back then, right?
They just ran us until we puked, you know? Like, so
you're talking like 3 to 4 seconds on the way down.
Yeah, I like to control it.
And when you talk about being explosive on the way up, are you powering up, or are you just like, how are you coming up?
I mean, it's still fairly controlled, but it's probably like that 1 to 2 seconds up.
Okay.
I kind of want to pop up. Sometimes I will do like time under tension where I'm 4 seconds down and then I'll 4 seconds on the way up and just do it super slow. Because again, I'm looking for a certain contraction to squeeze the muscle and just get that blood flowing, fill the muscles up. So I've done a lot of different stuff like that just throughout the years, working with different trainers, different coaches. They've had me train different ways, especially as I got more into bodybuilding. So I've learned some different techniques from them.
Okay.
So I do some different stuff. Like I said, time under tension, tempo stuff.
Are you a fan of like 3/4 movements? Do you lock out? Like what's your opinion on that?
I don't always like to lock out.
I mean, I never lock out, but I was just wondering from like someone at your level, what you do.
Yeah, I try to keep a slight bend, mainly for stability, and then just keeping that pressure off the joints, keep more tension on the muscle. And that's something you always go back and forth. Like when I was younger, I always remember, hey, dude, you didn't go all the way up. And it's like, hey, I get it, but like, I'm not trying to lock out my elbows. And just...
Are you trying to do more reps, or are you trying to get more growth?
Yeah,
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to like impress your friends?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it goes back to what you're saying, like, what is your purpose for lifting that weight?
Right.
And like you said, if you're trying to get stronger, or you're trying to get bigger, it's all completely different.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's how your mind to muscle connection. How do you do that? What is your approach on that? Because that's important, right? Like that's kind of everything.
Yeah, it's I mean, I take a lot from sports, so a lot of things I relate from what I learned just playing sports. So initially, it's just the visualization, especially if it's a weight that's heavier.
What do you mean visualization?
It's like I'm going to think about what muscle I'm working.
Before you even do it?
Before I even do it.
Oh, really?
So it's like, okay, I'm doing bench press. I'm working my chest. What muscles might be involved in that movement? Okay, a little bit of shoulders, a little bit of triceps. But my main focus is chest. So I want to feel it more in my chest.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about that. Then as I go through the movement, I'm positioning my body properly, of course. And then I'm controlling that movement down. And then I'm thinking about feeling it in my chest as I'm doing it. If I don't feel it, then I'm adjusting my form a little bit. or I'll control the weight even slower until I feel it.
Gotcha.
And then I'll keep doing that until I start to gain that connection. Then usually I found I can maybe speed up the movement. If I'm going like 6 seconds down because I'm trying to feel it in my chest, it might take a little bit to get that blood flowing, but then I can feel it and then I can speed up the movement a little bit.
That's interesting. So you're starting very, very basic.
Yeah.
And if you go to the gym today, are you still doing that same approach?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
still
really?
doing the same stuff.
So you're really like, I'm here to build muscle.
Yeah.
And I'm doing whatever it takes to get that mind-muscle connection, to get that rep range, to get that speed, to get the results that I'm looking for.
Yeah, if not more so now, just, being older, my body's a little bit more beat up. Like I said, playing football, doing all the sports. You just have to work smarter.
That's really
too.
Interesting. Yeah, working smarter, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like most people are doing that, or only at kind of the top level?
Yeah, maybe more so at the top level, but with social media and just access to so many good coaches, I'm seeing a lot of the younger guys train properly. But it's still a mix, right? You'll have guys that are just kind of going crazy, throwing weight on. But having a coach would be important because you can just marry those two. You can have a young 16, 17, 18-year-old kid get really good size, quality muscle, and do it the right way, because they're learning these techniques from some of the older guys.
How long did it take you to kind of figure it out? Because it took me a while.
Yeah.
I was going to the gym 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, twice a day, completely overtraining, not eating right. How long did it take you to figure it out?
Jeez.
Like you kind of felt, and honestly, dude, like I'm 43, so like we're similar age, so social media wasn't there.
No.
It was magazines. You didn't have YouTube.
Yep.
We were kind of going in blind, if anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like I walked up to the biggest guy in the gym, and that's how I learned. I would watch the bigger guys. Right. I don't know if you did the same, but
yeah, no, for sure.
There wasn't YouTube University, and
yep. So you're learning a lot from coaches too. I didn't go through a lot of magazines. It was all mainly from sports and my coaches. So whatever their knowledge was.
So you had your football coach.
That's what I'm going through. So
did that help a lot?
I feel like it did. At least, in my situation, I feel like my form was taught pretty well. Like I knew how to power clean and deadlift and do everything in high school.
I never had that.
Yeah. So I had that for sure. So I felt like my form was really good then. And then going into college, they're just teaching you more. So I learned a lot of like the Olympic lifts, clean and snatch, different stuff.
Sporting background kind of gave you a base.
So that definitely helped from a technique and training aspect.
That's interesting.
But like you said, it was the overtraining part.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a 3-sport athlete. Like I didn't stop sports. It was just year round, spring ball, summer ball, football, basketball. You're playing in a league during the summer, and then track. So it was like 4 years of just nonstop sports.
When did you kind of figure out the overtraining and just training smarter, I guess? That was the tough part because I overtrained in college.
So I was a smaller guy too, I'd say. I was probably like 160, 165.
How much you weigh now?
As a senior. I'm 190 right now.
And
in my off season.
What are you, 6 what?
I'm just under, I'm 5'10", a little over 5'10".
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah. Shoes make me a little taller. So, but I was usually smaller. Even, when I was getting recruited, I had coaches telling me that, like, oh, you look bigger on film.
Oh, really?
You're kind of smaller than I thought you'd be. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm, 16, 17 years old. I don't know what that translates to, but I put on like 10 or 15 pounds my first year in college.
Oh, really?
Just because I was, I was 17 still going into my freshman year.
Yeah.
So I was still growing. So you put me on, a meal plan at college and a college weight training program.
Started lifting.
Put on good size there. And after my freshman year, during the summer is when I like overtrained. But it's just that mentality, like that nonstop.
More is better. It was always like, right?
When you're resting, your competitor's still training. Like
that
was the mentality that we grew up on. Just to always stay ahead. So I didn't really take any days off.
What's your training like now? How many days a week? How long are you training for?
I'm still doing like 5 or 6 days a week. I'll split stuff up. I feel like I'm more intuitive because I have overtrained. I feel like I know my body's limits.
You start to listen to yourself a little bit more, right?
Yeah, definitely. You can feel things, before they start coming on. So a lot of times I'll know when I need to take a day off. and I have a coach too, so I communicate with him pretty much everything I'm doing.
Okay.
Right now I'm training legs like once every 10 to 14 days. I don't do legs, 2-3 times a week anymore like I used to.
How's that going for you?
I like it.
Yeah, nice. I bet you like it.
You could just...
that leg session must be up.
But yeah, usually I have a really good leg session and then I just, let it recover as much as possible.
How long sessions gone for?
Not crazy long. I mean, maybe an hour and a half, depending on the day. I think I've learned to taper things down a little bit too. Like you said, just be more effective with the training.
So like 5 days a week for an hour and a half.
And some days I'll split it up depending on my schedule, because I'm still working, training clients.
Okay, so you might do chest in the morning and come back and do something at night.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, and just split stuff up that way. Make sure I get
That's interesting. Yeah. So I want to know about like your mindset. Like obviously you're gonna have you must have some incredible discipline, incredible mindset to get to the level that you're at. Where does that come from? What is that specifically?
It was definitely how I was raised. I feel like just the environment I grew up in helped.
Like parents or brothers?
Parents, siblings, cousins, because they've all pretty much been in sports. So I've always had that to look up to.
Are you a quite competitive person too?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But it's almost more of a, almost more of a fun competitive, like to an extent. I don't care if I lose. Like if I'm playing with a friend, like, I'm going balls to the wall. Like we're going to go at it. But if I lose and you beat me, like,
you're okay
we're still going to hang out later. Like, I'm not going to be salty about anything.
Not like Jordan did.
Yeah. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, I had, cousins that played like at Oregon and, went in the NBA, cousins that played football, cousins that ran track in the Olympic trials. And then my 2 older sisters played sports. My younger brother played sports.
So you had a lot of inspiration and good role models around
my dad. So that was just kind of like what I did.
Yeah, it's kind of what you knew in a way, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was funny, like nutrition-wise, because we didn't really keep any soda or snacks or crazy stuff in the house.
Okay.
Like that. My mom was even shopping at like Trader Joe's and those stores back then. So a lot of the food was home cooked. Both my parents cooked. My mom was making sure I had my vegetables, and even if we ate out, it's like, hey, we're going to order a pizza, but you're going to eat this salad before.
Okay.
You get pizza.
How important do you think that is now as an adult?
It's huge now because now I do a lot of the same stuff just out of habit.
It's kind of like that. My parents are the same. It's kind of like that monkey see, monkey do. It's it instills good habits in you for the rest of your life without you actually knowing at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they didn't keep any junk in the house. Neither of my parents drank, so there was never alcohol in the house.
Yeah, me either.
There was never, we're kids, so obviously we're gonna nag them until we get something. But we rarely had like Doritos chips in the house. I always loved going to my friend's house because they had soda, they had the chips, they had candy. We could stay out, play video games, and do that. But
see, you had it, but in a very healthy balance, right? Yeah. I'm on the exact same page.
Yeah,
and I think it's because I'm in my 40s, I'm healthy and I'm fit, and it's because of that.
Yeah.
I 100%, I think it's because of the instilling as a kid.
Absolutely.
And if I was given everything, I'd have weak mindset and I would probably be fat and overweight and unhealthy. Right. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do you have kids yourself yet?
No
okay.
Kids.
But I guess when you do have kids, you're going to be exactly the same, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that positive cycle continues.
Yeah, and it's because I cook. I cook almost everything.
You got to.
I have to. So it's like
you got no choice.
It'd be the same stuff. I could totally see myself just sounding just like my mom and dad. Like the same things. Whenever we wanted to eat out or go to McDonald's, like no, you don't want that. Like we're gonna eat this. We can make the same thing at home. Like, and just let them go through it.
That's crazy. Yeah. Your discipline. Like, what is your discipline? What is your mindset? Like, how do you stay so motivated for so long, and how do you continue to just keep pushing?
It ultimately is going to come down to habits. At the end of the day, like those little habits, and sometimes it's hard. I get that too. Like I said, I grew up kind of always in sports, always being active. So even if I didn't want to eat healthy, I understood the importance of eating healthy, right? Like, because as a kid, you want soda, you want candy, you want all those things. But when I would eat that and then go play basketball or go to my coach's practice, we would run so much I would feel like shit and want to throw up anyway. So it's like, all right, I'm not doing that again.
There's repercussions.
So you would feel that early on and understand like, all right, this is why coaches tell me we can't drink soda during the season. Because our coach would be at the school and he'd like make sure we're not drinking soda, like in middle school. You know,
so it seemed like getting into football and having a coach seemed to be a really good thing for setting you up in life, right?
Yeah. Just staying active and understanding, you know, how those things kind of correlate with each other.
Have you ever talked to some of your coaches from back in the day?
You know, I haven't. I still keep in touch with, you know, like my middle school coach and, you know, some of my mentors I've had, like strength coaches from college and things like that.
Is there anyone you'd like to talk to or thank or?
Oh man, like, yeah. I mean, Coach Cross, Darren Cross, he's somebody that, you know, from middle school, you know, he's a military guy. So I feel like a lot of my coaches have had a military background. Yeah. So again, that discipline comes from them. Everything they did was so regimented as far as how we did practices, you know, touching the lines, you know, when we're running suicides at basketball practice. So we didn't touch a line, we're running that suicide over again. So it's like all those little tedious steps of like bending down, touching the line, you know, shooting free throws, being good at the little stuff, showing up on time or else you're going to run, you know, all those things.
They're also basic, but they're also important, right?
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, that's the most important stuff. You know, even for me, I have to keep reminding myself, like, you know, because I'm setting more goals for myself even outside of fitness. You know, if you're looking at business or just doing better in life, you're going to set a different goal. So it's going to be a challenge for us either way because it's something new, it's something bigger. We're stepping out into something new. So we have to find out what those habits are to create that and then just start doing those little habits. You know, we don't want to set a goal that's so big that we forget to do the little stuff that's going to get us there. We're always thinking, oh, I got to hit a home run today. I got to wake up and hit a home run. And you're not going to hit home runs every day. You know, you got to just get on base. Maybe the ball's going to hit you. And you're going to just get walked onto the base, or maybe you're going to strike out that day, but then it brings up the next hitter. So it's just that concept of learning to do that little inconsequential stuff, you know, things you think mean nothing. You know, like if you're reading, you know, I'm going to just read 10 minutes. Well, it seems like nothing, but you do that over the course of the year.
Many people in this chair, I read 10 pages a day.
Nice.
But 10 pages a day ends up a book every couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and the end of the year, you've got, So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
Heck yeah.
What are some of your habits, like your positive, like your good habits, which have made you who you are?
I mean, I try to wake up fairly early. I'm not a 5 a.m. guy,
no,
for sure. I've tried that. 5 a.m. crew doesn't work for me. I'm more of a 6:30 to 7:30
That's still not
wake
bad.
up. Yeah, but I like to wake up, go for a walk, usually 20-30 minutes, sometimes more, depending on the day.
Is that more for you or is that more for cardio?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, I would say more for me. Obviously, when I'm in prep, it just turns into being more to get 10,000 plus steps in.
And that goes back to the habit, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's like you start doing it now. You know, I want to wake up, you know, get some sunlight, be outside, be in nature. You know, the air is just different first thing in the morning anyway.
Yeah.
It's a little quieter.
Would you say it's like you time too? Like some peace time, some time for yourself?
You know, that's usually when I like to listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook.
So you're big on self-education.
Yeah, listen to music, awesome. Or sometimes I won't even take my phone. You know, I'll just go for a walk.
How's that go for you?
You know,
it's important, right?
Yeah, it is important. You know,
I'm the same.
Separate that.
Sometimes I'm driving, I was like, I want to listen to an audiobook, but maybe I just need to be in my own head and actually have some me time. So you're forcing yourself to do that too.
Yeah, I force that because there is so much. There's always noise. You know, you're at work, people are talking, there's your phone's going off, there's music in the background, there's always some type of auditory.
Like you're getting pulled some which way, right?
Yeah, so I feel like it is important to be by yourself and with yourself. Like, hey, let those thoughts process if they're gonna be coming
Love
through.
Hearing that, yeah.
You know, if
it's hard sometimes though, right?
It is, yeah, because then you're like, other thoughts can seep in, right? Like the self-doubt, or you question yourself,
or you start, I really got to make that phone call. I really got to do this, and I don't want to do this. Or I got to deal with that.
Yeah,
but it allows you to be present, right?
Yeah, I feel you sit with it, you process it. It's that self-reflection. I think it's important to look in the mirror and kind of see where you're at, and learn to check yourself before the world does, because it's going to hurt worse when the world checks you.
I like that. What are your other habits? So you wake up, you got a consistent, you're getting up fairly early, you're getting outside, you're going for a walk. Yeah. What else are you doing on a daily basis that's making you?
Yeah, I try to listen to some type of podcast or something educational.
What do you listen to? Is it business? Is it fitness? Is it mindset?
Yeah, it's not as much fitness stuff. I'll dabble in that, just because I might want to learn something, or if I'm researching on my own, but I try to separate that from the education as far as business. Okay. And like the audiobooks. I do a lot of audiobooks.
What type of books do you like? What's some stuff that stands out to you?
Gosh, man, there's a few that I just read. I mean, I've read stuff on like minimalist kind of mentality.
I love that stuff. I think it's really
just important. Again, it's kind of that declutter type thing. Just mentally, and like just what's around you. What am I reading now? It's a Joe Dispenza book, the habit of like not being yourself, something like that. Yeah. Forget the exact title. So I'm reading that one again for the second time. I bought the book, read the book the first time, and actually did like the 10-page a day when I was reading that book. And now I'm going back through it as an audio book.
What do you prefer, read or audio?
I like audio.
Yeah, me too.
Just, I don't know. It's something about, maybe it's the ADD. Like I get distracted easy if I'm just sitting there reading, or I'll find that I try to process it too much. Like I'll read one or two sentences and I'll sit there and think about it. The audiobook just keeps going. So it's like, all right, I can take that in. And sometimes when I'm doing something, I just retain it better.
I'm on the same page. When I'm at the gym, I'm in the car, there's an audiobook.
And that's kind of a weird place too, right at the gym.
Dude, everyone thinks I'm crazy. Like you like it? I love it.
I've done that. I'll listen to an audiobook or a podcast, because like the gym for me is, I mean, that's my place. Like that's where I'm the most myself, the most natural. Yeah. It's like, that's my habitat. So that's when I'm the most creative too. So I have more creative thoughts when I'm in the gym than anywhere else, or when I'm active or going for a walk. So if I'm listening to these business owners and business podcasts or self-improvement type books, I'm already in a creative kind of state, so
it's like a double win.
Hits me, like it's just when you're like, you're in the middle of a squat and you're like, oh, I want to write that down. then you're like, hold on, I gotta drop this weight real quick.
I always find that when I'm driving, like, oh, that's a good note. I'm like trying not to crash, running some quote down, or that's
man, I like that.
Yeah, dude, there's not many people I've met who do audiobooks at the gym. I love it. I love it. I've been doing it last 10 years. I couldn't tell you the last time I listened to a song at the gym. Yeah. I love audiobooks. Yeah. And I find it seems like you're on the same page where you retain it better. Yeah. Yeah. I do. When you sit down and physically read, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I never make time to do that. But I'm always driving, I'm always at the gym, always doing something where I can listen to it. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. What is your favorite book? Something that's had the biggest impact on you?
The biggest impact on me, I forget the author's name. It's called Live on Purpose.
I have not read that.
And it has to do with being like, something about being pathologically positive. But I kind of get like a double meaning from it. It's like because purpose is a big thing. Everybody wants to know what their purpose is in life. So it's kind of like, I see it as living with purpose. So finding that purpose for your life, but also doing everything for a reason. Like, why did you wake up at 6:30 this morning? Interesting. Is it because, you saw you should do it, like or read it in a book, or are you doing it truly for you? Or why did you decide not to go to the club last night? Like, that book made me think about
that's interesting.
Everything that I did. So then I was just more aware of things.
And then everything you say yes or no to, does that align with the core, right?
Really made me think.
You saying yes to being here today, does that align with where you're trying to be and what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
And then going to the club being an example if it probably doesn't align.
Right.
So it's probably a good idea to say no.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's really interesting.
Yeah, it made that book probably, I think that book opened me up to wanting to read more, wanting to educate myself more. You know, it made me even question other things people were doing, like around me. Because I would see it, because, they're connected to me. So it's like, hey, why are you going to do this? Or why are you going to get upset if I don't want to do something?
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm actually thinking about the real reason why I want to do it. And I'm really only doing it because you would want to do it. So it doesn't really serve me.
Gotcha.
So, or if I would see it's detrimental, like I would just ask them like, hey, like, I see you doing this. Like, why do you do it? Like, you say you want to do this, but your actions are speaking to what you're saying you want to do. So I just, it was
contradicting.
It was a true learning thing. It wasn't me like trying to act like I knew everything. I was just genuinely curious. Like, hey, like this didn't really match up. Like, I'm just asking you, maybe, you have a different reason than what I'm thinking. So I started doing that more, and it was just a whole like learning process for myself. And it made me, again, look more at myself and like, dang, dude, like, you need to get your stuff together because you're really not doing things with any specific purpose. You're doing it and you think it's good, but it's just what you were taught. It's not necessarily because you're choosing things for any particular reason.
That's really interesting.
So, but yeah, that kind of opened me up to like just want to read more, learn more. It took me a while to read that book. That was probably one of the first books I read like cover to cover in a decent amount of time. Without it taking the whole year to read one book.
Processing it.
But yeah, that was probably my favorite book. I think the author's last name was Hawkins or something. Could be wrong, but yeah, it's called Live on Purpose.
I'll have to check it out.
It's got I think it's 1 or 2 glasses of water, like, and pouring water into the glass from a bottle. That's what the cover looks like.
It's now on my to-read list. Yeah. That's the beauty about this. I get to all these cool books.
Right.
Because I read a lot. There's always something I haven't read that I always want to read.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one.
So I'm a big believer, like when you've got a very disciplined mindset with fitness, it transfers into business really well. Yeah. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I can. And I could also relate to some of the maybe negative parts of it, because I think about maybe someone starting their fitness journey, the things that might be hard for them. Because I see a lot of people that are successful in business and work, but then they struggle with their health and fitness.
Which to me, it should be the number one thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's
like your health being your wealth. I always say that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I've been in both worlds. I quit my medical sales job to come out here. I've been a mortgage loan officer. I've worked at a bank. So I've done a lot of, the 9-to-5 or corporate jobs, before finally taking that leap to be in fitness full time. But so I've noticed like just the difference in lifestyle and how things can correlate. And like with business, it's like, okay, cool. I got the health stuff down. Usually the business side of it is what most trainers maybe struggle with initially, 100%. Right? Like
I was a trainer for 8 years.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't personal training, it was running a business.
Yeah.
Two different things.
That was the hardest part for me initially, especially
so much about
social media. It's like, cool, I'm like working with athletes and I was coaching, working with athletes mostly when I first started training, and I was 19, 20 when I started training. And I didn't know anything about business. It was just like you learn all that stuff the hard way, and you didn't necessarily have access to as many resources as easily as we do now. And you don't think sales is like, it's like, what do you mean I have to sell somebody on being healthy and wanting to be in shape? Especially when you grow up with that, it's like, I did it for fun.
Yeah.
So
and you think
it was almost harder for me to think like, why do I have to convince you to, like work out for 30 minutes or an hour? It's like, I would have 2-hour practice and then go lift weights. Like that's just,
and then you realize that you're 1% of the population who are like that. Gotcha. And 99% of the population don't think that way.
Yeah.
And all your friends and everyone around you thinks that way. Mm-hmm. But when you step outside that realm, you're like, oh, this is how regular people are.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's just reversing that now for business, right? Now I'm like, okay, if I want to be a 1%er financially, like what things are they doing? They're making phone calls, they're, you know, setting up appointments, they're going through the sales conversations, you know,
practicing.
They have systems set up, they're continually educating themselves, not just in their field, but on business, on management, on finance, you know, the bookkeeping, stuff like that. So,
and it goes back to like, you want a six pack. You can sit back and make every excuse under the sun. You can blame everybody. You can twiddle your thumbs. You can wish it. But unless you're willing to put the 4 months of hard dieting in, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the same thing translates to business. Hey, I want more clients, want to make more money, twiddle your thumbs, hope for the best, hope for someone's going to knock on your door. But then you realize you and you only the only person responsible for making that happen.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, it really is.
The harder you work on either one of them, the luckier you get.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're kind of finding that firsthand, right?
Yeah. You do the same thing, and you're like, damn, like, all right, like I get it. And that goes back to like checking yourself, because there's stuff I don't like to do, and there's stuff I don't do because I don't like to do it. So I have to continue, like, dude, like if you say you want to be this successful in business, like this is what you're gonna have to do. Like it's like I'll do everything else around that. I'll make phone calls, I'll reach out to people, I'll do certain things, but it's like these one or two things I don't like to do it, and it's like that's it. Like that's what's holding you back.
There's a Brian Tracy book. Brian Tracy. It's called Eat the Frog.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever read it?
Yeah.
You probably should read it again.
Yeah, doing that one thing that you don't want to do that first, right?
Yeah, I think you and I both need to reread that book.
Right.
Because I mean, it's so easy to like just not do it, put it off to the side. It's the last thing you want to do.
Oh yeah.
And then it gets just put on the next day, and
yeah,
if you did it, your life would be different.
Yeah, man,
it's
so true.
What as far as your diet, what's your diet like?
Right now it's
because you're off season right now, right?
Yeah, I'm off season. I still eat fairly clean. I'll do like you know, usually 1 or 2 cheat meals on the weekends.
Okay,
so that's just where I'll eat kind of whatever. I don't. It's not like I go nut burgers crazy town and eat 6,000 calories in a meal.
What's an example of a cheat meal for you?
I might like order a pizza, like a smaller, like medium-sized pizza, but then again, from growing up, like I'll usually get a salad with that and eat the salad first, and you know,
honestly, it's not a bad idea. If you're gonna have a cheat meal, fill up on something good, and then you're less likely to get.
Yeah, I like to do that too, just to again fill myself up a little bit and hopefully not eat the whole pizza.
It makes a lot of sense. I probably should try that.
Yeah. So I'll do that. You know, burgers and fries, a good go-to, or sometimes it'll just be like going out to a restaurant and eating something there. Because even when I go to restaurants, like I'll eat pretty clean. You know,
what's your weakness?
Sweets.
Sweet, like candy?
Sugar, like cookies, you know, crumble cookies, stuff like that.
Nice.
Donuts, anything like baked at home. If somebody brings in a box in their Tupperware, like I have to have a couple of those, and if they're good and nobody else is eating them, like I'll eat the rest.
Eat them all.
You'll know how good your cooking is if you bring it around me.
What about when you are on point? How many meals you doing a day? Is you doing 6 meals?
Usually 5. The only times I've really gone up to 6 is when I'm like at the top of my off season, because I might have to split up a meal.
Okay.
Just because I'm so full at that point. But usually 5, split up into 5 meals. So I'll have breakfast and then eat again around 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. Then like 1 o'clock, 3:30. Then I'll have like a meal around 5:30, depending on when I go to the gym. And then I'll eat dinner around 8.
Okay.
Every night. And I try not to eat past 8. So that's usually just something I like to do. I don't want to eat past 8 o'clock.
Have you got a reason because of that?
I feel like more so for sleep. Like I'll focus on sleep. I feel like if I'm busy trying to digest food at 10:30 at night, like my body's energy isn't going towards sleep and recovery.
I don't think people realize that, right? Like if you go to bed on a full stomach, your body's like, oh, there's energy and it's a lot going on down here.
Yeah.
If you go to bed and you haven't eaten for 3 hours before, it helps you sleep better, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you'll wake up, more refreshed. You're essentially setting yourself up for the next day anyway. So I definitely like to do that.
Have you got a certain amount of calories that you try to do per day?
Yeah, right now. And I just, I check in with my coach every week. So we just talked about this because he has me up to like 3,800 calories a day, like 5 days a week, and then around 3,000 twice a week. So we'll kind of carb cycle.
Wow. So you're eating that's a lot.
But I'm going to lower that.
How many are you burning a day? You can't be burning that much on a daily.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely
like
bulking,
you're in a surplus
trying to
right
be in a surplus.
How many calories are you burning a day approximately? Because I'm burning about 3 approximately per day, depending on how long I sit in the ice bath.
Yeah. Man, the ice bath. Oh my gosh. I haven't really tracked how much I'm burning. I mean, I know for my workouts, I'm burning anywhere from 800 to 1,200 depending on the day.
That's a big workout.
And then I still do cardio, so I'm getting anywhere from 10 to 16,000 steps in, just because depending on what the day is with cardio and
so your workout and cardio is burning a ton of calories.
Yeah. So because if I go for a walk, I'll do a couple laps, 2-3 miles walking in the morning. That'll get me close to I'm usually around 7 to 9,000 in. So if I do that first thing in the morning, I'm already starting the day with 6,000 or 7,000 steps in. And I haven't even started training, haven't gone to work.
Most
haven't
people,
had breakfast yet.
most people only doing maximum 10,000 a day, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing that before you even start your day.
Yeah, and that's a couple of times a week, not every day, but even without that, I'll get 10,000 plus in just from being at work and training clients.
Gotcha.
And doing that stuff, moving around. So burn quite a bit. But yeah, I'm going to bring the calories down. We were talking about it because I got up to 204 last year in my off season.
Oh, did you really?
And,
okay.
I'm 190 now, and I kind of like this weight. I feel like it's a good weight.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you feel best at?
I feel comfortable where I'm at now. And I think with my schedule too, it's different than it was last year and the year before. So it's a lot harder to get that much food in than it was before. And I was just heavy. That was the heaviest I'd ever been. I ended up losing 40 pounds to compete at the Natural Olympia anyway. So it's like...
What weight did you come in on stage?
I was 163.
Wait,
so the first year I won it, I was 162. Last year I was 163.
So you're quite light.
On stage,
Wow.
So I get crazy lean. So to me, it didn't make sense to get up to 200.
160 is not that heavy, is it?
No.
Wow, dude, you must be shredded.
Yeah.
Well, how low is your body fat?
It was... trying to think. It was around 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe lower. That's what the InBody said a week before the show.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, it's so hard to get an accurate measurement. Yeah. Especially when you start getting down that low.
Oh yeah. So it was, definitely peeled. So we'll see if I can just put on quality muscle mass. Because like I said, I feel good at this weight. I feel strong. I can still lift heavy. So there's no real need for me to put on too much weight. Unless it's muscle, otherwise because I'm going to lose it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just going to take me longer to lose the extra 15 pounds of fat. Why don't I just stay at 190?
Yeah.
Put on 1 or 2 pounds of muscle if possible, and then just, do like a 25-pound cut to be stage ready.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
What's kept you natural? Because I feel like guys, especially once they hit like the 30s and that, the temptation's there. They want to go to that next level.
Yeah.
What's it been for you? Why have you stayed true to yourself?
Definitely just influence for sure. I mean, growing up in sports, and then especially back then, like we didn't have access to as much information, or like I didn't know who was on steroids. I didn't know what steroids were when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We didn't really get supplements. I didn't even start taking protein powder until I was in college.
Okay.
Just because it's expensive. It's $50 a thing then, and of course my mom's buying like...
Don't go to Australia, dude. It's 4 times more expensive in Australia.
Yeah,
It's cheap here compared to...
Well, yeah, and that was, 20 years ago, like $50. So my mom's like, $50 for a tub, and you're going through one a month? Yeah. And that's only like one scoop, right? Like, you think about how much, we probably go through each day making shakes now, but... that influence from my parents, we just ate food. A little bit financial too, right? Because, the supplements cost money. So I'd rather buy food and eat than drink a smoothie, or just have a protein shake with water. So it's like, all right, well, if I can eat a full meal, like I'd rather do that than spend $50 on protein. Like I'll just go buy a bunch of chicken. So that was just more my mindset, like saving money, and I'd rather just eat food. And being in sports, you know, there was that you're going to get tested for sports, you know, performance enhancement. So my goal was to play in college and professional. So it's like, well,
so you knew
I already knew that was illegal. So it was never a thought to even dabble in that arena. And I just wasn't around it anyway.
What about when you got to the next level where you really started getting serious about this?
You know, college, well, like I got hurt playing football, overtraining, took a year off. And that was kind of the whole like realization of just overtraining, and switched my major. I didn't end up graduating with my degree, but I did like a fitness professionals program. So it was like a year and a half certificate that I did. That's probably when I got more serious, was when I got hurt. Because then it was like, I didn't know if I was deficient in anything. You know, I wasn't tracking anything. And even with macros, like I didn't even really track macros until, you know, 2020. Like I had a coach in 2018 and he just told me what the serving sizes were, but I had no idea how many calories, how many grams of protein I was eating, because he didn't calculate it.
Gotcha.
But me being an athlete and just having that natural discipline, it's like, all right, if this is the meal plan, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. Like I trust you. You're calculating everything. We're good to go. So even doing that, you know, I wasn't dialed in on the macros until, you know, 2018 to 2020 when I first started doing that stuff.
Do you think it's because you had, you did so well so quickly that it kept you away from like temptation and other things? Do you think that's where a lot of people go wrong?
Yeah, I think there's kind of the impatience of it, especially more so for the younger guys, I would say. That's
a big point, isn't it? Like having like that instant gratification because it's the quicker route.
And it is surprising some of the things I've heard, because, you know, being at the gym, I'm seeing a lot of younger guys there, and they'll ask me and we'll have conversations, and they'll tell me about their friends that are getting on stuff at 16 years old. And I'm like, holy crap, like, I didn't even have any kind of access to that, like, let alone with social media to know about it, but like just to have access to it. I'm like, how do these kids get their hands on stuff? But there is that, you know, impatience or the instant gratification, especially when you're seeing everybody else. You know, you don't always know, like, they don't know that I'm 36. And that's the conversation I usually have. Yeah, and you've been listening for 20 years. It's like, hey, bro, like, how old do you think I am? They're like, oh, I think you're 26. And they're like 22. It's like, well, dude, I'm 36. Like, you have 10 more years to train before we even need to have this conversation.
Yeah, that's a valid point, right?
So I would say me playing sports delayed that, because I wasn't focused on getting big, you know, except for to play football. But even that was a different mentality than training like a bodybuilder. So that kind of delayed that thought process. Bodybuilding was never in my mind. Like it was never a sport.
Gotcha.
You know, I even thought about until I turned 26. I just knew about it, you know. So nowadays it's just something like, all right, everybody's going to start training at a super young age and lifting, but now they want that result super quick. And it's like, dude, like, you have so much more, like you're 20 years ahead of me because you're learning this now.
Yeah.
You know, I was focused on getting faster and having more speed and more skill for my sport, where like, if you're focusing on just training and building your physique and, you know, all the influence and education there's out there on nutrition and, you know, deloading and, you know, taking your proper rest periods and letting your muscles recover, like, I mean, I was staying up until 3 a.m. playing video games when I was in school, you know, with my friends. So it's like, if I would have knew all that stuff, you know, back then, it just makes you think how much further I'd be now. So it's just a patience thing for, you know, a lot of the guys coming up now. I feel like, you know, it's, you know, wanting that result super quick instead of just letting that natural process happen.
I think social media has made it a lot harder too. Because social media, you see the best of everybody.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
The guys are all pumped up. The girls are pumped up. They've taken 50 pictures to get that booty shot.
Yeah.
They got the perfect lighting. So you're seeing everybody in their absolute peak prime.
Oh, they're pros. They're
yeah. I mean, I've seen people do it, right?
They got all the angles down. They know what angle to shoot the camera at, what lighting to use to make everything pop. You know,
when they've dieted, they've just done a comp, they've just done a photo shoot. You see people in their prime, and you can relate. Like it's so hard to stay there.
Oh yeah,
it's a full-time job.
Yeah,
and you see, and you got access to the whole world now. Mm-hmm. So you always see somebody in their prime, and you always think that like that's the norm, but it's not.
Right.
It's not, right? Like it's so hard.
Yeah, I've tried to post more photos because I do the same thing, right? Like I'm only going to try to post stage shots, but some of my posing content, which, you know, again, content's one of those things I need to get better at because I'm usually just in the gym, I'm training, I'm working, I'm not trying to record myself.
Yeah, and why would you want to, right?
It's like, man,
you kind of got to for self-branding.
To an extent, I gotta do this. Like, again, like the business stuff, it's nowadays where are things going? So I have to adjust and like, all right, if I want to build a following, I need to create more value, but create it on social media too, so people can see that and get exposure to me. But yeah, like what I was saying, I try to post more stuff of me in my off season. Like,
because then you're more relatable. You're human.
Yeah,
you're
it's
not
like,
this
I'm not
perfect
shredded
specimen.
year round. Like, and you know, some people are cool with it because even in an off season, somebody could still look better than the majority of people. But it's also just to show them like, hey, I'm not shredded year round. Like, I don't always look like this. Like, I'm gonna enjoy some good food every once in a while. Like, you know, it's not like I'm just shredded all the time and this is impossible for you. I want people to realize like, hey, I can attain this. Like, try to realize I'm only doing this for a short period of time, like to get that shredded. And then, hey, I'm going to be right there at the restaurant at a booth next to you one day, you know.
So I would argue that bodybuilding is not very healthy. And it's because of the extreme amount of drugs and things that come and being so lean, taking diuretics. But for the way you do it, do you think bodybuilding is healthy?
I do. And we're still getting, you know, those extremes. And that's where sometimes it's finding what works best for your body too. So it's definitely taught me a lot. I feel like it's almost like a fountain of youth. Like if you can do bodybuilding and do it naturally, because it's going to push your limits enough, you know, without breaking you. I feel like if you do it the right way. And as human beings, I feel like that's what we're put on this earth to do, is push some of the limits. And even more so for ourselves. But, you know, bodybuilding, you're kind of going to go outside of some of those traditional nutritional guidelines.
Yeah.
Right? So when you think about health that way, it's like, you know, when I tell people I'm eating 0 carbs for a week, or I'm only having like 1,400 calories that week, they're like, oh my God, like, you're a full grown man, like doing this, and that, and you're only eating this much food. Like, how are you alive? You know, all these things. And it's like, it's just for a short period of time. And you've kind of done it gradually too, right? But it's still that extreme of, you know, one end of the spectrum where you're 160 versus potentially getting back up to 204. And that's where, for me, as I continue to compete, it's narrowing that gap. You know, now it's like, all right, if I can stay around 190, especially as I get older too, metabolism's going to start slowing down. So I have to be a little more mindful of those things, because my body's not the same every single year. I'm making adjustments based off of the things I'm noticing and the foods I'm eating. So, you know, we do our best with that and learning those habits and what works for us. But yeah, I think if you do it the right way, like,
yeah, it's just fine. I've had guys sitting that see who aren't natural, and they've told me how much stuff they're taking and how unhealthy it is. And yeah, it's cool they get the results, but they're like, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. Yeah. So someone who on the opposite page, it's interesting to hear, because it probably is quite healthy for you. Yeah. It is quite extent. Like, you are kind of peaking here and there, but you're not staying there all the time. Right. And you're not taking extreme amount of drugs or diuretics or whatever it is to get to where you need to be. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah. It's a much slower, like, more gradual process. You know, I'll do a 20-week prep.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long's your diet? Like 20 weeks.
Yeah, usually 20 weeks now. I've done 12 and 16 week ones. I've just had the best results doing 20.
Do you find you kind of lose muscle or get a little bit flat when you do it quicker, and the slow is the better approach?
Yeah, I can, because then I can focus on, you know, just gradually decreasing those calories to burn fat. once you get to a certain point, you're going to lose a little muscle anyway, especially as a natural athlete. It's just going to happen. But yeah, you can minimize that muscle loss, doing it more gradually that way. And, it kind of prepares you. You get used to the lower calories. So then as you get lower and lower, it never gets comfortable, right? Like it does get worse, but I feel like you can, handle those lower calories a little better when you're doing it more gradually.
What, when you compete, what are you getting judged on? Like,
it's overall shape, muscularity, definition. So you got like the conditioning, separation in the quads, separation between different muscle groups, overall shape for the category, because every category is going to be just a little different based on shape.
Okay.
So like men's bodybuilding versus classic physique, and then men's physique, they're just looking for slightly different shapes.
So what is it about your shape that makes you like the top and stand out the most? I know that's kind of like a bold question. What makes you so special?
That's a good one for my coach.
Yeah,
my coach.
No, I'm just curious. Like, what makes you win? What makes you better than the competition?
My legs stand out a lot.
Okay.
I go
just
back to that.
Just having thick legs or the separation?
The separation and the size of my legs. Okay. I think everything balances pretty well with my physique, and that's part of it too. Like,
the symmetry,
just
right?
The symmetry and the balance of my physique when you look at me and kind of how everything goes together. I'm still a little bit more leg dominant to where I could put on more size and probably have better symmetry. It still works though with my physique. And when I get shredded down, like the cuts in my legs are pretty deep. So from a conditioning standpoint, probably just from all the running and stuff I've done from all these dang sports over the years, but I feel like that's an advantage I have with that in my legs, because that's usually a harder part for guys to get, whether it's developing size in their legs, or if they do have the size, do they have the definition and the separation in the quads?
I was going to say having leg dominance seems like an advantage.
Yeah,
because legs are the hardest thing to kind of build, and
so I think that's been an advantage and something that's helped. Small waist. My waist gets down to like 28.
Oh, does it really?
I diet down for a show. So when you have big legs and then a 28-inch waist,
I used to get down to
and
28.
Then, a 42-inch chest, like it helps, on certain poses just to create that V taper and everything. So
28's tiny.
Yeah.
I think I'm lucky to get to like 31 these days.
Oh man,
yeah. 28 is so small.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's your environment like? Your friends? You got a wife, girlfriend?
No. So I'm single, no kids.
Okay. So what's your environment like? You got a good environment? Do all your friends like you? Do you have friends who are outside of that who try to pull you different directions?
Yeah. It's interesting because my friends now, they just know. So if they are somebody that likes to go out,
they just know.
Okay. All right, if I invite Derek out and he comes, he's probably not going to drink, or he's just going to have one or two.
Yeah.
Like they already know that, because that I would say that's a harder part in general, right? Whether you're just trying to lose 10, 20 pounds and create some new habits, or if you're a competitive athlete, you have to learn to set those boundaries.
Boundaries, word. Yeah, I love that word.
And just have those goals and understand what you're trying to do. And it also helps you find out who the real friends around you are, because I feel like the real ones will understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And support you in that. And
do you have good friends like that?
Yeah.
How'd you get those friends?
I've always had good friends. Most of my friends are from growing up.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then, like, one of my best friends, JJ, he lives here in Vegas. He moved out here after college. And then, I just followed recently and moved out here last year. But because he's gotten to know people out here, we're very similar. So he's introducing me to people that are already kind of aligned and like-minded with how we are. So that cut the learning curve of like having to meet new people out here that like, all right, who should I hang out with? Who shouldn't I? And then just being involved in fitness, just so many people are disciplined. They care about their health. They care about learning. They're experts in different aspects of fitness or nutrition. So I'm able to collaborate and just engage and talk to people like that on a daily basis. So So that certainly helps. And even when we get together and hang out, like we're all like, oh, we're going to go out, but we're going to do a happy hour and we're maybe going to only have one drink.
Okay.
So then it's everybody's on the same page with how they are that way. And I think once you start doing that, that just becomes what you attract. Like most people that are doing things that I don't do, I just don't end up connecting with them.
You don't really cross the same paths, do you?
You know, and if I do meet them, like things just never work out. So no, I'm busy, or I'm at the gym, or I'm doing something else. Like,
what about dating for you? How does that work? Do you look for a gym buff? Will you date just someone who doesn't go to the gym? Do you need someone's goals align with yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think with dating, you want some kind of like-mindedness, but you don't always want somebody exactly the same.
Right? I always talk about this. You don't want someone identical.
Like, I don't know if I would want somebody, but you never know, right? It depends on the person. So it's like I'm always open to whatever that way. You know, I could try to think of what preferences I would have, but at the end of the day, it kind of, some things work, some things don't. You know, and then I'm going off of other things I hear where sometimes you end up with people that challenge you more or complete opposite just because it's different than what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like that whole opposites attract in some ways, but definitely having a foundation of like health and exercise, like
might be
that's just that's just a big thing for me. It's one of those, it's just so personal, right? It's like the one thing you really can control is your health. You know, even if we're building habits for business and making money and building a legacy that way, it's like certain things can still happen to where that goes out the window.
Yeah. I always say that you would trade any amount of money for your health. Yeah. Wouldn't you? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if someone offered you $1 billion or to be healthy, I would take health.
Yeah.
You would take health.
Like, hey, I'll give you $1 billion, but you're going to die tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like,
or you're going to lose quality of life for the rest of your life or something, right? Your health is so. And I mean, like, you being in your late 30s, me being in my 40s, I still feel like I did when I'm 20. And I love being able to say that. Yeah. I can still do the exact same thing I did 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah. Most people can't say that. Yeah. And I don't mean a cocky, arrogant way. I just mean I have made the right decisions over 25 years and kept the good habits to be able to continue to do that, just like you have. Right. And when you're 60, you're still going to be able to do the same thing you did today. Yeah. And it's nice to know that, isn't it?
It almost makes you look forward to it, right?
Yeah, like, you're not dreading getting older because you get wiser and smarter, but you keep your health and you keep your youth. Yeah, yeah. And guys get, what is it, like sexy with maturity, I guess.
More distinguished.
Yeah, more distinguished.
Get some of the
so we don't really go out a date. So it's not a bad thing for a guy. Yeah. But your health is everything. If you can't touch your toes or you can't get up in the morning or you get inflammation everywhere, yeah.
And I've experienced those things, so it's like,
but you're constantly working on
with that wisdom, and you know, it's like when you're younger, you can get away with maybe not stretching for X amount of time, right? Because you feel good, your recovery's through the roof, whatever. As you get older, you start to notice those aches and pains. It's probably from not stretching when you were younger. Yeah. But you just feel them more now, right? So then you start to like, hey, I need to stretch more, or I need to warm up better.
What is your kind of like routine for like longevity recovery? Are you stretching? Are you doing cold therapy? You do saunas? What's the little general rundown?
I like to use all of that stuff. I mean, I haven't done cryo, but I've done like ice baths.
Okay, you do them very often?
No.
I do them daily now.
Oh man,
dude, it's amazing. It's a game changer.
I know it is. It's so rough for me. Like I'll try.
It's so rough for me too.
Yeah, I know it is.
Did not want to do it this morning, but I did it.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely that strong mindset type stuff. I try to do like cold showers every once in a while, and I'm actually trying to be more consistent with that.
I've done them for 6 years.
6 years.
Highly recommend them.
Man,
I highly recommend it. Just for the mental strength, the immune system, the recovery. There's so many benefits that come with it besides just putting the cold water in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I mean, you've got the discipline, you got the mindset. You just don't know you've got it.
Yeah, I just have to work through it. Like you said, it's something new. So feeling that cold water for the first time, that's going to be a shock. But yeah, I've been stretching a lot more. You know, obviously doing a warm up, I'll usually do like 8 to 10 minutes of cardio.
Oh dear.
On the treadmill, does it matter? Before.
Just get the blood moving.
Yeah, just get the blood flowing. You know, get the body temperature up a little bit before I start training. Do some stretches depending on what muscle group, like mobility stuff.
Okay.
So I'll usually like warm up, like on a leg day, warm up, do some stretches, a couple mobility things, then I'll get into my squats. And then after that, I've been doing a lot more yoga.
Oh, really? See, that's something I'm working my way into. How's that been for you?
I love it. It's been really good.
How often are you doing it?
Probably 2 to 4 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Because I'll do like the yin style where it's more meditative, longer stretch where you like get in a position, hold it for 2 or 3 minutes. That really just helps me relax.
How's that changing it for you? Like, what's it doing for you? Because I know the importance of it, but I can honestly say I'm not doing it. So you can start the car, I'll start yoga.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, with the yin style, it's being more meditative. I can totally like clear my head. Okay. So it is another one of those things where if you're somebody that is always in your head and you got a lot of stuff going on, it could be harder. You might feel anxious just because you're in the same spot, not moving, and it's quiet. Okay. And the lights are off or dimmed, and you're just trying to stretch, and even the stretching is uncomfortable because your body's tight, and you just want to move around a lot. But they focus a lot on just breathing, getting your body to relax, and then getting into the next position. That's been huge for me because I have like super tight hips, especially just being in some of the other careers. Like I'm sitting down all day. Now I'm on my feet more all day, but
squatting gives you tight hips too.
Squatting.
I do all that. I do Muay Thai a couple times a week, and all we do is work on hip rotation. Yeah. And he's always like, squatting, deadlifting will make you tighten your hips. Oh yeah. So he's got me doing stupid rotation exercise, and they're so damn hard. Yeah. But you feel so much more open and better afterwards.
For sure.
But they suck to do.
I know it. Yeah. So that's been huge for that, and it translates to me more so for posing. And like doing the posing routines that I do in classic physique and getting into a split stance and then transitioning, you have to be mobile to do that type of stuff and have that flexibility and range to move and even just to engage your muscles and open up your muscles, all throughout. So that's been important for that. And then the flow style yoga is good for the transitions. So I relate stuff to like whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And a lot of the positions that we're in yoga are similar to some of the poses in bodybuilding. So I could just be holding a position or pose in yoga. Now when I go do it on stage, it's so similar. It's comfortable. I've developed the flexibility to stay in that position. And then just set my body up to look the right way aesthetically too. So it's just more comfortable.
Very interesting.
But yeah, ice bath, sauna,
all that good stuff.
Do all that stuff and dabble in all that here and there.
Just to finish off with, how important is it having a coach? And do you encourage other people to get a coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge.
Like what did it do for you?
The funny thing is, even if you know everything, which most people don't, the coach will be there. It's the second set of eyes, and it's the accountability.
I always say that, like a professional tennis player has a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, best tennis player in the world has a coach.
Yeah. It's pretty much every professional has a coach. It's the amateurs that don't have a coach. So it's like you can correlate those two, with anything. Business owners have a coach or a mentor that they're coming up behind,
or the accountability, like you said, and you never know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'll run stuff by my coach. Like he gives me my plans, and when we check in every week, I'll talk to him and say, hey, like this is how I felt on it. This is what I'm thinking. Can I tweak this? Are you okay with me doing this? What do you feel about where my physique's at now and where we want to get it to go for the 3-peat this year? Are you okay with me doing this or adjusting my workouts this way? So like we talk about all that stuff. So even though you have a plan, now I'm doing all the little things to communicate and go off that. Yeah. If I was just blindly following a plan or coming up with something on my own, that's still good. But then it's like, where do I need to make adjustments? And you can still do that on your own, but to an extent, you're going to get along much faster with that second, expert on
just somebody getting into fitness. Would you recommend a coach from the start?
I would, at least for habits. I think that's the biggest thing with most folks because, like I said, that's usually it, right? You get a New Year's resolution. You want to lose, even if it's, 20 pounds, you might have a bigger goal to lose more, but if you just want to shed those 20 pounds, it ultimately is going to come down to habits. And some people don't even know what habits those are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They just think, okay, like I'm going to get a gym membership, I'm going to get a trainer, if they do get a trainer. But if anything, they think I'm going to just go to the gym and I'm going to jump on the treadmill for an hour a day.
And you see it all the time, right?
And then 2-3 weeks later, like it's it.
No results.
No results. Even if they get a trainer or pay for a trainer, they're not going consistently enough because they think, oh, I'll get a trainer once a week and that'll get me to my goal, which it's more than you were doing before, but just working out once a week may not get you there.
And then your diet might not be on point at all.
So, because life is inevitably going to come back, so whatever habits, you're always going to default to your habits. Whenever you get hit in the face, you're going to default back to the habits that are instilled.
So a coach to instill habits to set you up to succeed.
Yeah. I would tell somebody, hey, if you're not sure what you need to start, call me or hit me up and just say like, hey, what are like the main things I need to think about? Because it could be financial, right? All right, maybe you need to save money before you get a coach.
Yeah.
Maybe you
so
need
you can commit properly.
Maybe you need to get some containers to meal prep before you start thinking. That way you're not doing everything at once. Like, oh crap, I need to spend $300 on supplements. I need to get all this stuff at the grocery store. I need to do this. Like you're doing all that at once. Like
it's a little intimidating.
Those are the extremes we talked about, right? It's like, well, get those habits in now, save some money so you can at least get 3 months of solid training in. Because then even with a coach, if you're like, oh, I want to work with somebody monthly online or in person, like how much is that going to cost me to work with you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I don't have that now, but I can save it and then I'll keep in touch.
Okay.
So all those little things, like, I feel like you can be practical with your goals and things like that. You don't have to just take a leap and do things on a whim or just off of that impulse, right? You can plan before you start actually
I like that.
Implementing your goal or, going after it.
If somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Right now, Instagram,
what's your Instagram?
It's djoe.hype. So D for Derek and then JOE.hype.
So people can reach out.
Yeah,
for information,
you can hit me up on Instagram.
You do online coaching as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do online coaching, nutrition.
So anyone's watching this from anywhere in the world.
They can I have like clients and athletes I work with in other states.
Okay.
Really all over. So I have a couple athletes that I'm training, get ready for shows, and then general population that just want to, lose 10, 20 pounds or, do like a recomposition, just cut some fat, get some training in. So do all that stuff.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, man.
Yeah,
that was a pleasure. Keep up the good work. Hopefully it's number 3 this year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.